we were able to spin up a virtual server and have them work while we waited, because this was at the tail end of COVID. So there were still supply chain issues with getting hardware, and we were able to spin up that virtual, and they were able to operate on that for weeks. We feel very good about our security stack, and we want to make the MSP experience just as if you have your own IT resource on site.
MSPs have moved from break fix to more of a partnership arrangement. So how do you partner with your clients? How do you make sure you're interacting with them, figuring out their challenges and recommending solutions?
Yes.
As a true partnership?
Yes. And I would say that we are looking for partnership. We are not interested in a transactional client experience. We're looking to partner with companies that are having technology part of how they grow their business and how they are productive, and not worry about technology. Any access to your money, your customer base, or the information that you are helping the customer maintain or store is critical. And those are the things that we talk about with prospective clients as well as our established customers, because without those things, you can lose your business in a relatively short time.
Welcome to the Tech Stack, brought to you by techmarketingteam.com. I'm your host, Denny Basham, and we're dedicated to bringing you authentic conversations with the innovators and leaders shaping the managed IT services industry. Each episode, we dive deep with MSP owners, founders, and industry experts to uncover their strategies, challenges, and success stories that matter most to IT service providers. Whether you're scaling your MSP, looking to enhance your service offerings, or seeking new ways to grow your client base, you'll find actionable insights here. Today, we're joined by Stephanie Gill of C-Squared Computer Consulting in Denver, Colorado. She's going to share her unique perspectives on business development. We'll explore everything from client acquisition strategies to the latest in managed services innovations. Let's dive deep and discover the strategies that are transforming IT businesses today. Welcome to the podcast, Stephanie.
Thanks for having me, Denny.
Well, you're welcome. So can you tell us a little bit more about your journey into IT services and what led to your role at C-Squared?
Yes, I worked for many a software company as well as healthcare data warehousing vendors in the past. And then I had a hiatus to raise some kids, and I am back, and I met the ownership of C-Squared at a social event. They happened to be looking for someone for account management and business development. And so we started a discussion on if I was a good fit for their organization. And 3.5 years, almost 4 years later, I can say it was a good fit.
Here you are. Great. Tell me a little bit more about the company's core mission.
We want to bring effective use of technology and empower businesses to grow by the use of effective technology. That is our primary goal, and we focus on the small to mid-sized business. Our target market is a 20 to 75 person organization. However, we service down to the one person solopreneur all the way up to 200 employees.
Okay, perfect. So you're definitely in the small to medium-sized business focus here in Denver. How do you tailor your solutions for this market? What's unique about this market and the clients you deal with?
The market is a very crowded market in Denver. There are many MSP ranging in size and servicing some specialized industries. We're industry agnostic, although we do have a niche in a few different industries, such as healthcare. I would say that one of the things that we see within the market is everyone's trying to tailor for security. We feel very good about our security stack, and we want to make the MSP experience just as if you have your own IT resource on site. So we are focused on securing the environment, offering tools that help you be productive and secure, such as backups, firewalls, productivity tools for Microsoft, the Microsoft suite, as well as adding on features such as mail protection, password management, things like that help a small business manage through automation and technology.
Got it. So if a company has in-house IT, how do you supplement that? How do you work with an in-house IT team?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we do have co-management. Typically, it's where there's one person that has a little bit of IT experience and they can troubleshoot commonly experienced issues. However, they don't know networking. They do not have the expertise to troubleshoot more complex problems that require different levels of system engineers. And we have those resources at C-Squared. And so
Gotcha.
we can augment a organization through co-management.
Got it. So I think that MSPs have moved from break fix to more of a partnership arrangement. So how do you partner with your clients? How do you make sure you're interacting with them, figuring out their challenges and recommending solutions as a
Yes,
true partnership?
yes. And I would say that we are looking for partnership. We are not interested in a transactional client experience. We're looking to partner with companies that are having technology part of how they grow their business and how they are productive and not worry about technology. That's our role. And we can supply them with recommendations on an ongoing basis, whether that's a monthly meeting, a weekly meeting, quarterly business reviews. We're looking at the infrastructure which we manage, and we take a look at, okay, how is everything performing? Do we need to tweak something? Do we see anything that we need to have a discussion with the client? We're implementing multi-factor authentication throughout our customer base, and we're doing so through conditional access, which requires additional licensing. But it is far more secure for the end user to have MFA. It helps reduce breaches, especially with business email compromises. So we feel very good about what we offer. How do we distinguish ourselves? I would say that we really focus on service. So customer service is paramount. So as long as we can provide that outstanding service on an ongoing basis and be the go-to, we can help make those strategic decisions for a business as it applies to their technology based on the 20 plus years of business that C Squared has had as an organization, as well as having a consistent workforce.
You're building and maintaining those deep partnerships by interacting with them on a regular basis. You're out there on site at least once a quarter, talking to people, what are your challenges, what's upcoming and new. You're the security and IT experts, talking to the C-level folks or the managers over there to make sure their networks stay up and email stays up and backup works. And I remember there was some story I think we've talked about before where someone had a catastrophic failure and you were able to roll out backup hardware. I think something
Yes,
happened.
we had a healthcare provider and their server completely failed. There was no bringing it back up. We were able to use the backup device. They also had a cloud backup. We were able to spin up a virtual server and have them work while we waited, because this was at the tail end of COVID. So there were still supply chain issues with getting hardware. And we were able to spin up that virtual and they were able to operate on that for weeks. So
Wow.
literally their downtime consisted of about 5 hours. And so that is extraordinary. And the business continued to function the entire time. So that their window of downtime was 5 hours.
And that's mission critical. You're providing healthcare, especially during the pandemic. You couldn't get hardware.
No,
It took you a while. It probably took months to get hardware.
That was not a normal turnaround time. So we were able to utilize that and keep them up and running the entire time.
Businesses are moving more towards cloud. So how do you help with that transition to cloud infrastructure? How do you help with that migration process?
The business decision starts with a lengthy conversation with the organization as well as our director of technical services. One thing that we've noticed with moving to the cloud is the single largest change for an entity is the workflow. So you need to understand the workflow to understand if, in fact, they are a candidate for moving from a physical server to the cloud. We brought up an ambulatory surgery center that also had a group practice associated with it. And most of their clinical products were moving to the cloud. And so they wanted a cloud environment. And we were able to have all of those discussions about both sides of the house because they operate differently. And the clinical needs and the systems that we were going to have to integrate into the network all had to be in concert to achieve that. They're very happy with that environment. And some of the people are old school and came from the server environment, so they marvel that they don't have as much infrastructure as they previously did.
Yeah, you don't have to have on-prem stuff anymore. Something else comes to mind. I was thinking about bring your own device stuff. How have you helped businesses navigate that? Because everyone that wants to use their cell phone at work for their email and for everything else, how do you keep it secure and still allow people to bring their own devices?
It's a combination of things. So for instance, in the work environment, whether it's in the office or they're using it remotely, if they're using a personal computer device, then we need to manage that. Our preference is always to have it managed with the security stack. The hardware has to meet our minimum requirements, et cetera. And then we also have the option of utilizing tools if that can't be done because they're waiting on a new computer and they don't have the specs that are required to run some of these programs. We can use a remote access tool that is secure and allows them to use that personal device and access their network remotely. And then when it comes to mobile devices, the MDM, mobile device management, we have a large specialty group with about 50 members that are utilizing this because they are using Microsoft Intune. So we manage those devices through a number of different policies. And we can also turn them off and shut them out of environments. You can get very granular with what you can do with MDM. And some people don't need to be lugging around a larger physical device, and their phone can suffice for everything that they need to do for their business. And so this particular company, that's exactly what they do, because the employees are moving from different locations constantly and need access to these different cloud products that they're utilizing. So we have security tools on the phone and the ability to control access through conditional policies.
So you don't let them in without the software stack on their devices, whether it's mobile or a home computer, where they're accessing it remotely. You make sure that the networks are secure and that the assets are secure.
Correct.
Makes sense. I was thinking about Windows 11 and also the migration away from Windows 10, which I know is imminent. Windows support's imminent. So how are you going to help clients make that transition? Because Windows support's just around the corner.
I think that for the most part, our clientele is aware and has been notified of this, or they've reached out prior to us notifying them. It's a large lift for some organizations. Microsoft put out a readiness test that can be ran, which our tech team did. And so we have listings of all the computers our customers need to upgrade, because it's impacting some groups more significantly than others. And so we ran the readiness test. Our recommendation is replacing hardware. You have the option of running a 1-year extended support. We're a little bit skeptical on that. And if you're using an old operating system, we don't know how that's going to impact other programs. So, there's some risk there. So our primary recommendation to the customer base is, if it is not upgradable to Windows 11 Pro, then you should replace the asset. But in a case where it's a significant lift and you need to do a combination, then some assets could have a 1-year extension of support through Microsoft.
That hardware is going to be pretty old if it can't support Windows 11. I think anything in the last 3 to 5 years generally supports it.
So some people are a little bit shocked. Oh, this is a 5-year-old computer. I'd like to get a couple more years out of it. You simply can't. And then the risk of having the unsupported software, that's just not an option. We're not going to have anyone's environment compromised based on running unsupported software, because that is a threat vector that's easily exploited by threat actors.
Especially once there's no longer updates for Windows 10. And the hardware does provide some additional protection anyway with Windows 11. So
yes,
it's all good. Yeah. And hardware may be inexpensive hardware. And sometimes if they would have bought more expensive hardware, it would have be able to upgrade. Yes,
correct. And I think that we as an organization prefer and always recommend business grade computers versus a consumer. It bears out 90% of the time, those devices are not going to last long. And not only that, because they're being used constantly, they weren't meant to be used in a business setting, especially if you have multiple users accessing some consumer laptop or a desktop. It just simply doesn't have the components that were meant for that kind of heavier use.
Don't be penny wise, pound foolish. I definitely think that buying better hardware, it means it's going to last longer. So you invest a little bit more up front, but it's going to last longer. And you'll be happier with it. It'll perform better longer.
It's certainly the experience at C Squared, and technicians and engineers would chime in with a lot of technical reasons why to do this.
So are there any other security challenges other than those transitions you want to talk about that you see every day? What are the biggest security challenges?
It is one of two things. It is their business emails being compromised, whether it's an oldie but a goodie, you owe us money, here's an invoice, and it's sent to accounting, and it looks like it's coming from a customer. And they go in and they execute whatever's being asked of them. And then we have a threat actor on the scene. We need to take action to remediate anything that has been done. And then it's user error. Employees are unaware of the security threats. They don't know what to look for. And they will put in credentials that allow threat actors into their systems. 90+% of the time, it's unintentional. They make a mistake because they don't know what they don't know. So one of the things we encourage is to have cybersecurity training. which we do
Yeah.
offer through a portal platform, one of the
Oh,
best
nice.
class products that are on the market. And there's simple 2-minute videos, and it always is changing because the threats are always changing. You and I have spoken about this. Voice is now infiltrating scams. And so that's happening. And with the heavier use of AI, it's harder to detect, say, an email that isn't really coming from a real source. It's getting more difficult to see little nuances because they're improving the spelling. They're spoofing a particular email. There's so many things that are happening that we have to keep on top of. And
Yeah,
so
we'll
do
see
our
what happens with
customers.
voice AI, and social engineering has always been one of those things. It's a non-tech threat vector too, but with voice AI cloning, you can impersonate someone. So I think it does point back to having an internal process at a business that validates certain kinds of transactions. Here's the code word for the week. Here's how you know it's really me. I
Right.
think that's going to be important because a good voice clone, it could sound like your CEO. Oh, hey,
Right.
you need to pay $100,000 right away to this company. You'll see the email coming through, and here's the bank account number. How do you deal with that? You have to have internal process too. There may be some tech solutions for this. I don't know.
But
Uh,
yeah, I think there can be. Mostly it's education of your employees and to ask
yeah,
questions. We've started to do it as support. If you are not someone we're dealing with regularly within your organization, we're going to our primary point of contact to confirm that,
yeah,
if someone's calling in and we don't have them as a user that we set up or we don't have a history, we're going to reach out to the client. The stakes are too high to make mistakes like this. And we've had a couple of customers that have suffered financial losses
yeah.
from some of the very scams that we're discussing right now.
It's one of the reasons I won't allow voice authentication when I call into financial services companies. It's too easy to spoof. I'd
Yes,
rather,
in the past we wouldn't have worried about that, but
yeah,
with AI being able to manipulate, that's something that you have to consider.
yeah, for sure. So, can you share a success story where you helped transform a client's business operations related to tech?
Yes, I know. I don't want to dwell on a negative per se, but we
Yeah,
did.
it's real world.
We had to respond to an incident in 2024 that could have shut down their business, and
Yeah,
they're a large customer, and we were able to through our tools and quickly responding to some within their environment. And let's just say between the security stack and all of the automation that goes to that, and tools monitored by humans 24/7, and then our own service team, we were able to contain what occurred in a very short period of time. And then we worked with the cyber forensic team. And frankly, we outperformed that team hands down because one, we know
yeah,
the environment, we know what
yeah.
questions to ask, and they were very dependent on us to help them determine what took place.
It's a great story. And I think that's like, how do you educate clients on the value of proactive services versus reactive? It's like the difference between break fix and planning ahead. How do you help with that education for
Well,
clients?
we talk about it a lot when it comes to what you have to lose. Not
Yeah,
only is it a case where if your business is compromised, that you have data, your data set is valuable, your
yeah,
reputation is valuable, your
yeah,
revenue is valuable. Any access to your money, your customer base, or the information that you are helping the customer maintain or store is critical. And those are the things that we talk about with prospective clients as well as our established customers. Because without those things, you can lose your business in a relatively short time.
yeah,
Because if people don't trust you, they know that their data is now out on the dark web. You've got to announce that you've had a breach. What kind of confidence does that give a company? And creating a solution that is unique to the customer. Let's say we have a customer that operates in multiple states. And so everything has a similar setup to each location that they have. And when they're moving and they're going into a new location and you bring a new product in or upgrade the infrastructure to have it be aligned with the other locations, that's just fantastic. Being part of that strategy and the growth is very satisfying. When we're successful, the customer is successful. And a lot of times when the customer is successful, that helps us be successful as well. So,
yeah,
it fuels both our growth.
yeah. So, what do you think makes you different than everyone else in the competitive Denver marketplace? What makes C Squared unique?
I think that our focus on wanting to do what's right for the customer. And I know that a lot of people will say that about their business, but I work with a very dedicated team
Yeah.
Literally, that they love solving a complex issue. They want to make sure that they're delivering successfully to the client because they know what's on the line for the customer. If something stops working that is critical to their business and how they function, that's a crisis for the customer. So to get in there and be able to solve something that allows them to excel for the next thing that they're trying to accomplish, I feel like that's what separates the team at C-Squared. So a lot of dedicated, really hardworking people, understanding that we are there to help grow your business. If we deliver the technology solution that works for you and helps you grow, then it's a success for both organizations.
Have you ever had to turn down a client where they wanted you to do something different and you didn't feel like it was a good fit and you just said, we can't do it, it's not going to work?
Yes, and I think you can only do that as you're in business for as long as C-Squared. Our founder started this company in 2004. So we've been in business over 20 years. And some of the tenets of the company are have fun, Kaizen, which is learning for constant improvement, and being transparent, just a number of things that we hold dear. People wanting to have the customers be successful is one thing that sets us apart. We're not just in it for what can we do? How can we push it along? And I do meet people like that. That's why we do have some of the 1 and 2 people shops, because somebody refers us to a client. We're going to take that very seriously, even if it doesn't fit the mold.
Sure. So what emerging technologies are you most excited about coming down the pipe in the next 6 to 12 months for SMBs? And
I would say obviously AI is on everyone's mind. I think both the good and bad. The real benefits of AI, especially from an automation standpoint, are very exciting. And then on the negative side of AI is keeping up on how it will provide threats to our customer base and how we have to be on top of what's happening all the time to facilitate protecting those things, protecting our customers, as well as being able to respond to them, because we want to be proactive. We all have to be reactive, but we want to be proactive. That is a better position to be in to provide better service for our clients.
Yeah, the good news about AI is AI can fight AI. It's like threat mitigation and also threat analysis. I think there's a strong play for AI to try to sort through those reams and reams of data that you get from sensors, right? To be able to sort through it and determine what's a real threat and what's not.
Right. Think about just some of the logging that systems do.
Yeah.
That, looking at it just from a logging perspective, it's overwhelming, but you can see patterns that can actually be utilized for improvement, additional automation, security, et cetera. Yeah, I think it would be a great thing. And I do want to just end on your question because I didn't really answer it appropriately. And that is, we have turned down business before. When we feel like a client is really pushing for their way or the highway, or where they don't appreciate what we're saying about security, we typically can't be successful in that environment, because what happens is we end up with a unplanned co-managed situation where a lot of things get broken because someone thinks because they can do a little bit of technology, and that just isn't a good fit for us.
Yeah, my friend's brother's nephew knows how to do this. It's not a good answer for most companies. It applies to marketing too. We get that a lot. So how can businesses connect with C-Squared and you to learn more about your services?
They can look us up on the old web and
at
the Google, and that would be at C-Squared Computer Consulting or c2cc.net. And I can be reached at 303-933-1113. Either one of those modes will put you in touch with us.
They'll find you.
Yes, they will.
24/7, right?
Yeah.
24/7 for you. All right. Hey, Stephanie, thanks for joining the Tech Stack. Brought to you by Tech Marketing Team. Definitely enjoyed the conversation, and we look forward to the next time.
Yes,
so thank
Denny.
you so much, Stephanie. Wonderful job. Thank you.